It is the 22nd vlog, and welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. If you've been catching these every day at 7 Pacific Standard Time, but haven't seen a lot of views so far, but that's okay because I'm still enjoying this. Today is, of course, the 18th, and it is 5:42 Pacific Standard Time. And so these are going to be recorded maybe about a week before they're actually being posted. By the time this one actually gets released, it'll be the day before Thanksgiving. And that kind of made me think in terms of what are some of my favorite Thanksgiving traditions. Well, I think one of my favorite Thanksgiving traditions, along with Christmas holiday traditions, is movies. And some of my favorite movies generally tend to be comedies like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But it got me to thinking in terms of comedy and maybe how things in terms of comedy have changed, although I'm not trying to emphasize that, nor am I making any political statements or social commentary or anything like that. Just from my perspective, my experience, though, is that when it comes to comedy, I think sometimes comedy can be a little bit too predictable. I generally like my comedy to be kind of on the dry side. I'm not really into much wacky slapstick stuff, although I'm a fan of Jim Carrey and Ben Stiller and all that kind of stuff, which might kind of fly in the face of what I just said. But the most comedy that I actually like, I don't think I want to really narrow it down as whether it's, G-rated or PG or R-rated or whatever. Whatever comedy there is, I like for it to be clever. I like to not necessarily see it coming in terms of setup, and I often like, comedy that doesn't necessarily follow the same beaten path. I mean, I think one of the kind of comedies that has taken off over since maybe the last 20 years more or so is observational comedy, and that's not really my bag. I'm not really into hearing, wild, wacky statements or whatever just for the effect. Mostly because sometimes things that are said out of shock or out of humor, it kind of feels like a well that's been made, is run dry for a very, very long time. Like I said, when it comes to comedy, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a perfect example. Although I think as a kid, probably some that were a little bit more on the less sophisticated might have been Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Rick Moranis as being a pretty funny comedy. Although I mentioned Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I don't know how much of that I can really watch now. Mostly because I kind of I like to avoid sometimes dramas or specific movies that'll make me cry. And if you've never seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, well, it's funny as it is, and it truly is one of the better comedies by John Hughes. The ending might make you a little teary-eyed. I won't tell you why. Could be for a lot of reasons, A lot of things can make you cry. Something being laugh, funny. There's lots of different, but it's one that it's the kind of emotion that I don't know. I gotta be in the right kind of mindset in terms of comedy and stuff. But yeah, I think Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving is definitely one of my favorites that I'm looking forward to as well. Except for that, I don't know a whole bunch of really Thanksgiving. I think I also remember Garfield. I think Garfield had a Thanksgiving special, or at least I remember being on TV, NBC specifically. I think it was the Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving, and of course Garfield that was along with them, and of course that was the follow-up of the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and all that stuff. And of course, the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, although with the amount of commercials, I don't know if it's always been that way, but the amount of commercials and the kinds of commercials that just don't appeal to me, yeah. I do think it's kind of ironic that at least last year they had CBS and NBC doing the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, and the way they did it was from different angles, but you got the what seemed like the official Thanksgiving Parade, and then you got something that seemed like it was more of a splice and edit impromptu type of Macy's Thanksgiving Parade on CBS. So that was my experience, and those are the things I'm kind of looking forward to in terms of this next few days. Tomorrow, Thanksgiving, and I'll definitely have a vlog for Thanksgiving as well. And maybe, not exactly sure what that might be. And of course, I'll have the Friday's vlog up when I record that. I'm not sure if that'll necessarily be today. And I don't know if I'll necessarily I don't plan on doing vlogs ahead of time on almost a week ahead of when they're released. But I've got to take my mom to some radiation appointments. Yeah. And that's something that's hopefully by the time this is released, it'll be her last one in terms of having to go do that. She's got a 20 days of this, and that'll be the last day, and I'll really be feeling better and happy and wanting to do something special for her. So that is going to be it for this vlog. I've also got an idea of maybe putting something together that talks a little bit more about the TV I watched growing up in the 80s and 90s, and maybe what some of the favorite other things during the time were, like some of the trends and that kind of stuff. I'll probably do that in a video voiceover if I want to expound on that. But until next time, take care.